All right. Hello, all you wonderful, amazing, spectacular tea people. We're drinking these today, and these are very. Sorry. I went. There we go. All right. Perfect. Sorry there. I thought I was doing the Jade. I thought I was live streaming on the Jade account, but no, that's right. We're good. We're on the right account. So we're doing these today, and these are I titled it for the Facebook and the YouTube as hybrid tea genetics, and these bad boys are hybrid tea genetics. And what's the story behind these guys again? Well, there is a man on Alishan, and like on Alishan, like he identifies himself by the kilometer number on the highway up in Alishan. So he's right in Alishan. And so he's got these teas. And the story behind it is there were, when he found a patch of land and there were sort of teas that were growing on it, and they turned out to be Camellia formosensis, but they weren't that old. And the Camellia formosensis plants had been intermixed with the sort of the Taiwanese cultivars. And so what you had were these teas that are undeniably Camellia formosensis, right? That's the indigenous Taiwanese wild tea. So they're undeniably Camellia formosensis, but, and this is the big but, you can see that, let's see if I do this. Maybe that'll help. That helps a little bit. But they have this strange mix between the two. And I am going to try both of these teas right now. You've got Camellia formosensis and you've got Camellia sinensis. And you've got these two different tea genetics going through these teas. And we're going to try them out now. And I'm going to go through them. And I'm actually really sort of looking forward to doing a deep dive into these teas because I think they're going to be available on the site. And I know for a fact some will be available on the site, 100%. But what I would like to do is get these on the site and sort of have them see if I can find another source down in the Ogowe as well. But have them sort of as a replacement for the teas that we've had in the past, the old growth stuff. Now I'm still going to try and get more of the old growth stuff, but that's a tough one. Anyways. First thing that happens when I take off the plastic of this, as you can see, this here, this is what comes off the top. And, that's, I always love to see that type of stuff. Pretty sure that is printed. Yep, that's printed. But, you can see it's got sort of this, and you take it off. And then I haven't actually opened one of these. So what happened was I found these at the tea show, right? So, hey, man, how's it going? I found these at the tea show. And because I found these at the tea show, I didn't actually get to do sort of the undressing or the exciting part of opening up the tea cake. And so here we go. I'm opening it up, right? So this is much more like I'm getting the connotation of a cupcake. But maybe that's just me. So here is these types of tea balls here. I'm going to keep it over this. And so here you can see this looks like actually this is a loosely pressed sort of an oolong-y style tea made out of, so I don't really know. It's pretty hard. I'm going to have to use, if I'm going to go in and start doing the actual sort of like Chinese teas, I'm going to have to get me a real, I had one around here, a real sort of, it's not right to use the scissors. I need me a real pour pick or a pour knife. But yeah, this is pretty strong, right? So this is pretty strong. So I'm gonna peel it off, right? So I'm gonna peel it off so you guys can see. But this is what it looks like here. So I'm peeling it off, and this one here is the one that's like, this one here is the one that's like a lower oxidized. They didn't make as much of this. But as you can see from this, this is not really a pour style. This is much more pressed oolong teas. Now, I've had pressed oolong teas, like made with oolong. I've had those before on the site. And usually they're not particularly all that special. But I've had this one before, and I'll tell you, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. But I'm hoping it's the same. I'm hoping it's the same. Get more of the old growth stuff. I don't care if now or 5 years from now your buddy is getting better at processing. The 2022 is better than that one. Yes, it is. He's definitely getting better at it. And I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. It's not going to be sort of an all or nothing, but I'm definitely going to bring in this. Now you can see how this is made is you actually get sort of like the oolong. When they're making oolong, they call it the pants. And they tightened it down to create these balls. And so it's a very Taiwanese tea cake, right? It's not been pressed, right? And the reason you know that is because you can see right here, you see it sort of, anyways, you can see there's lines going like this, which means it was not done with a big old stone like this. It means it was done wrapped in fabric like this and tightened like that. All right, so that's that one. And here we go. Now we get to try to open the second one. Now this one is done sort of as a black tea, but it's also sort of done as a sort of a hybrid black. And this is the tea that I was really excited about. I was really happy to get this tea. I was really quite happy. I've never seen a cake like that shape before. Well, Cindy, I have. And most of the time when they do that, what they do is they take a really crappy Taiwanese tea, like I'm talking like bottom of the barrel, nobody wants it. And then they do that, and then they age it, and then they try and sell it to tourists. That's not what this is. This is actually really good. Make your own tea mafia, then get all the teas and profit. Yeah. One of the reasons I can't run my own tea mafia is because the amount of English speakers in the world that want teas like this are about the people that are on the live stream right now. Maybe a couple more. So I would love to be in the tea mafia. I would love to create a tea mafia for fun. It was a fun tea mafia. But now, the first thing that comes off of this thing right here is sweetness. Look at that. It looks like a tea brain, right? Well, I guess kind of. Made in the same way, and this thing is gorgeous. It smells amazing. It's I got to go and find the exact details about how it's made, but it is. I got to get me a more aesthetically pleasing tea knife. But you can see here, we'll crack it open. We're cracking it open. There we go. And so you can see it's different, right? So this is different. This is made with a looser rolled black tea. You can see it there. And I'll go to Taiwan and be your tea enforcer. Well, if you're going to be in California for a while, maybe you can pick up some tips of the trade. But it's Taiwan, so I don't know how much you actually need to enforce things. But there we go. So let's try them out. This is already boiled water. I probably should blast these, but I'll blast these some other time. I don't need to blast them today. But I want to get sort of the flavor profile and see how they go. Now, again, with teas like this is not how you should be drinking these teas. These are beautiful teas. These are teas that are, they are really quite special teas. Like I said, there's these hybrid genetics. So when you talk about the tea plant, if you plant a seed from a tea tree, you have no idea what that tea plant is going to be like. You have absolutely zero idea. It's just like apples or any of these other sort of these tea genetic type plants. And so when you have a tea plant that that is grown from seed you don't know, other than sort of the basic DNA style and something like that. And so that's what these teas are. They're this mix between the sort of the tea from China and the indigenous Taiwanese tea. And hopefully I'll be able to pull out some leaves to show you just how much fun it is. Because when I first tried these out, I pulled out some leaves and I was like, come on, let me see the leaves. And so I took out the leaves, and then I took out the leaves, and then I was looking at them. I was like, what? Okay. So I recognized the big, long, narrow leaves, right? That's okay, Camellia formosensis. And then I looked closer, and they were all striated along the edges, sort of like an oolong or even like a ginger. And I was like, what the heck are these? This is like, a dog that meows, in the tea world, or, a cat that wags its tail or something like that. I was like, what is this? What is this? This is crazy. And so I was quite excited to, to go into that. And then to taste them, you really do taste the Camellia, the soul of the Camellia formosensis interplayed with sort of the really nice oolong flavors and those things that go along with the oolongs. And so that for me was really, 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 really fun to go around and listen. So there's two different styles. I think, actually, that's a good question. Let me just take a look at where did I put it? Oh, it's over here. Oh no, the little red thing. I wrapped it in the plastic. I think they call it like a black tea. Yeah, they don't really say, they just say it's good tea here. But it's spring good tea. But the idea here would be to have it as the sort of the Taiwanese heicha, and it is very, very similar to that tea, at least when I had it before. There are probably different formosensis varietals, like how Qianqin and Jinchuan are for sinensis. Well, should we get into that? Because I study that, and I'm like, I'm certainly not scientific, but for experience-wise, I'm probably one of the world's best, or world's foremost experts on Camellia formosensis. Here we go. So let's drink some of this. And this is exactly what I had at the tea show, and this kind of makes me. It makes me kind of excited because if you've had the Eastern wild cultivar oolong, which is from tea trees that are about, I guess they're about 20, 25 years old right now. Well, 15 to 25 years old, but they're grown sort of and produced into a pretty normal sort of oolong style. You've got a little bit too much formosensis. Like, you got a little bit too much. It's a little bit too much for me. A lot of people really love that tea. A lot of people think it just tastes like fenugreek, which, is an interesting taste note for greenish oolongs. Wow, it's so similar to that tea, except the up front is Camellia sinensis. So sort of an oolong, like a greenish oolong, like a normal Alishan organic oolong. Not quite I'd say it's more Jinchuan than Qianqin. Anyway, it's hard to tell, but that's what the flavor is. And so, what you're getting is the upfront is straight up Alishan oolong, and then the background is the wild cultivar oolong taste. So, my biggest problem with the sort of the eastern, the southeastern, I think I call it now the southeastern wild cultivar oolong, is simply that it doesn't have the real positive aspects of the Taiwanese oolongs that everybody loves and enjoys. It's got more of the Camellia formosensis stuff, which is can be a little bit one note. Again, some people love it, and it's a very like love it or leave it type of tea. But this one has the best of both worlds. So it's got the sinensis stuff and the formosensis stuff together, which is, let's face it, I mean, that's really quite a lot of fun. There's a little bit of an edge in there. You can see that I got rid of all the hot water in there because there's getting to be a little bit of an edge in there. And that's what you get from, generally speaking, from formosensis plants, unless they're done in this style. Greenish formosensis plants, unless they're done in that style, like in a heavily oxidized style, they're going to give you a little bit more because there's, I hesitate to say Assamica, but there is sort of an Assamica edge in there. How about a blog post or a live describing the different formosensis areas? The tea nerd in me is getting tickled. Oh, yes, I mentioned that. I can give you just a quick little rundown between the two right now. 4, 3. Oh, damn, this is good. This is really, really, really good. So this is, I would say this is better than the Taiwanese Heicha. Maybe not better. Anyways, in the same ballpark, different. There's different plant genetics tickling my tongue. So the upfront, like the other one, the upfront has a little bit more sort of classic-y red oolong-y type of flavors. And then the background is Camellia formosensis. Absolutely. And it's rich and it's strong. It's got a bite to it. Now the other ones have a little bit more. The other one has a little bit more of maybe a caramel touch to it. A little bit more of a caramel touch to it, but they're produced sort of in a similar way. I think the other ones are from a little bit older tea trees as well. So you can sort of taste the difference there. But what this is different is the upfront is much more red fruit. So like cherry, like a fresh cherry is in this. Whereas in that one, it's much more of a deeper flavor. Anyways, okay, let's do this quick. 3 different areas. There is the southeastern area, there is the Nantou region, and there is the Liugui region. So so that's Taidong. So if this is, there's a population of plants here. If this is Taiwan, there's a population of plants up here, and then there's a population of plants down here. These two are there's a huge mountain range between them. You can't get in between them, right? So they're very, very distinct. These two, the one in Nantou and the one in Liugui, are a little bit more linked. And there's some plants that sort of mix between them, like they're sort of in between, stuff like that. But the one in the East Coast is isolated. It's much more isolated, and it doesn't grow that high because there's not that many high mountains in that area. And so what you've got is those 3 distinct areas. And I don't think they've actually done like a DNA test to see the differences between those 3 areas. But the flavor difference is if I'm going to rank them, number 1, the best tasting is Liugui for sure. Number 2 would be the Nantou area, and number 3 would be the southwest or southeast Luye wild cultivar region. So far, I know there are 3 areas of the old growth formosensis, the monk formosensis, the nutty ball rolled one, the grassy ball rolled one, the one near Sun Moon Lake, and that new one. So what you're looking at, so we're going into a deep dive here. So this is the second steep on this. It's evened out. Certainly not as strong as the first steep, and it's evened out. It's more more along the same lines. Really quite nice. A little bit more earthy, a little bit more rich than the southeast, but just quite nice. Now you're looking at, there was the other one that I had, the monk stuff, and up in the north there's an area, but all of those are planted. And what's hard about the stuff in the north, these are the monks, Camellia formosensis stuff that I had in the past. What's really hard about them is they're planted from all over Taiwan. So there's some seeds from Nantou, some seeds from the southeast, some seeds from Liuegui. And so the ones up there are a mix between all of those different regions. And in fact, when you're walking through that garden, all of the tea plants are slightly different, like really, really slightly different. Like they're amazingly different. So all of those tea plants are just, really like different, which is pretty fascinating. So that doesn't count. Those are all planted by people up there. But when you're looking at the three different ones, the one in Liuegui, which is in, again, the southwest, is on par with the stuff that you would get in China. It's on par. It's wild grown. The stuff that you can get that's wild grown is beautiful. It's wild grown. It's just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous tea. And if it's produced in a good way, it's just the best stuff. And that stuff is, it's sort of the best sort of Camellia formosensis you can get in Taiwan, for sure. Then the Nantou stuff, the problem with the Nantou stuff, it's similar to Liuegui, not quite as good material, but the problem is that people there just turn it into too Taiwanese stuff. In Liuegui, they don't have all the history, so they can produce it whatever they want, however they want. But in Liuegui, in Nantou, they try and make it into a Dongding Oolong in general, and it just doesn't work very well. This is keeping the senescence floral and then the green leaf litter in the background of the formosensis. It's a really nice tea. It's a really nice tea. And then the Liuegui stuff, there's basically not a lot of floral, much more vegetal, much more earthy, much more immediate and deep, and it has that more of a grassy vegetal flavor to it. And if they did do some other things to it, say, for example, creating, maybe doing a pile, maybe turning it into a heicha, like piling it up, doing some of the show processing for it, things like that, might be able to pull out some florals and things like that. But it's really, really tough to make floral out of those teas down in Liuegui. It's really, really tough, like really tough. Not Liuegui, Luye in Taidong. And so that tea, out of all of them, I would say that's the one that's got the flavor profile that would not be enjoyed by the most amount of people. No value judgment. No value judgment. But that's what I would say about the three of them there. Now, like I said, this one in this area, I've got to go see this guy. I've got to go phone him up. I wanted to meet him at the tea show, but I didn't meet him because they had a family thing. And so he was there taking care of that. So he couldn't come to the tea show, which is unfortunate. But I got to go to Alishan and I got to go see him. Because I love this tea. This is a beautiful, awesome, amazing tea. And I really enjoy it. It's a different style of tea. It's got some edges to it for sure. But it's got that same flavor profile and uniqueness to it that's quite a lot of fun if you're into this type of stuff. Which, of course, not everybody is. But if you are into sort of tea genetics and that type of stuff, you can taste the genetics in these teas. You can absolutely taste the genetics in these teas. And both of these teas, they're only just going to get better with age. This one in particular. The aftertaste is, some of the caramelness, some of that stuff is coming out in the aftertaste. Really, really nice. Awesome. All right. Let's see. They've opened up a bit. Let's see if I can pull out some of the leaves here and see if I can show you, oh, here's a good example. I think I got a good one here. Now, one of the things that I've talked about many, many times, this is actually a pretty good example of it, is these tea trees are about between 50 and 60 years old, anyways, from the pictures. Now that I'm looking at the stem of this leaf, I would say, yeah, that seems about right. How do you tell if a tea tree from the leaves is really, really old? Well, you're going to get basically the veins of the tea leaves coming out are going to be so big and so thick, they're actually going to collapse when they're dried out. And they're going to look like a, like old school coffee straws. Anyways, like imagine a straw and you go boop like that, right? So you got a straw and you squeeze it in the middle. It's going to have a little bit here and a little bit there and a line down the middle. And with this one, it's actually kind of funny because it's not quite there. You only get that with tea trees that are about 80 years and above, in my experience. And so with this one, if you can actually tell here, let's see if it goes into focus for, remember we're doing this, hey, how's it going, Mindful Teas? It's going both in YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. You can sort of see. So here it's really thin there, and then it gets wider, right? So you can see that thin and wide, but it's not at the point now where it's really, really, really easy to see. It's still not that old. It's still not that old. So you can see that in the stem, but it's getting there, right? You're looking at an older tea plant. Now let's see if I can open up this tea leaf for you, so you can see sort of what it's doing here. And you can see this is a long and narrow leaf, right? So this, when you're looking at it, you're looking at, oh, hey, that's a Camellia formosensis, right? So you can see this long and narrow leaf, right? You can see in general the Camellia formosensis tea leaves look like this. It's long and narrow, right? Taiwanese leaves are bigger, wider. And then if you look on the edges here, I don't know if you can see it. Anyways, these live streams, you can see there's striations on it that you do not get from, I don't even know what to call it, full blood Camellia formosensis or something like that. I don't want to use full cellulose, intercell plasma. I don't know what's the correct term for you know, for plant DNA. But you're not getting it for what, when you're looking at these tea leaves, you are, if it's 100% pre-sinensis tea leaves in Taiwan, you are not going to be getting the striations on it, like the pokey things. It's smooth all the way up. And so you're getting this hybrid, and it's a little bit of a hybrid. This one's a little bit thicker, you can see. And as I go through these leaves, all of these are going to be different, right? This one here, another good example of a Camellia formosensis leaf, right? That's Camellia formosensis, 100%. I take a look at that and I go, oh, the feel of it, everything about it, that's a native sort of Taiwanese tea plant. But then the striations on the edges are, this one actually is a little bit less dramatic. You can see, like, it's just, they're absolutely more so, they're a hybrid. It's basically a hybrid plant for sure. Do you think that it's a formosensis or something new, like an offspring of formosensis and sinensis? It's an absolute offspring of formosensis and sinensis. But, you know, when you get into that, when you get into the shady world of, what is it? I think it's land race or something like that. I forget the term. I've studied this stuff. It hasn't been for a while. But when you get into that shady plant world of different kinds of varietals, and when you're looking at it in the sense of seed planted things, giving it a label is almost impossible. So The only time you can really get a label for a plant is if you have a cutting and you graft it. All right, that's a 100%. If anything is from seed, well, actually, no, there's another way to do it, which I can tell you in a minute. But if you get a seed, you like, what is the seed? Is it brand new? Well, yeah, it's brand new. But if it's made from, very obviously close to one or the other, I highly doubt I could call it something different, right? I highly doubt this would be called something different because even just looking at them, the leaves are all different, right? The leaves are all different. So what I call it, landrace is the term, right? And so, to give you an example, there is Qinshin oolong, small leaf oolong, Ranzi oolong. They all have the same names, they're all the same plant. But if you find a plant of that name in, for example, Liugui, and for example, Dongding, and then in Mingjian or one of the other places up in Taipei, like in the Pingling area, they're all distinct, and I can taste the difference between them, even though the difference is extraordinarily subtle. But they all have different names, but they're all from technically the same plant, the Qinshin oolong. Right, so they're all technically the same. But anything, so with that stuff, anything that's been planted in the past maybe 20 years though, has been planted from nurseries, and the nurseries are all cuttings, all the cuttings, right? Now, before I said I was going to tell you another way to do it other than a cutting, and this was told to me by an old man in Pingling. But you would take like the tea plant like this, right? So you got all the leaves coming out, and what you would do is you would take one of the branches and you put it down on the ground and you put a stone over top of it, right? So this is still going up to the main branch, and then you'd cover it in dirt, and then you wait for 6 months, and then you'd cut it off the main branch, and then you take it, and then there'd be enough seeds in it, enough roots in it, that you can take this and plant it somewhere else, and then it will grow up into another identical tea plant, but without grafting. So that's an interesting way to do it, and that's a way that I find quite fascinating. Anyways, but that's a really interesting way to do it. Quite a fun way to do it, and yeah. So just to get again to go into how complicated it gets. There is a place in Hualien, around where I live here, where there's a guy very into organic farming, and he had a patch of land, and they did a lot of tests in what would grow here. But I said, "Oh, it's tea. Tea is going to be good on this patch of land, and it's up in the mountains a little ways." And so they just got a bunch of tea seeds, random tea seeds from all over Taiwan, and they just threw it in the ground. What are those? Right? Some of them are Camellia formosensis, some of them are this, some of them are that, and they proceeded to go and to when the tea plants have created seeds, they've gone and planted them around. And so what the heck is that? Like, I don't know. What would be the name of those tea plants and things like that? So, and so as we're getting further down into the steeps in this, well, there's an interesting sort of caramel note that's coming out now. Isn't that interesting? Wow. Interesting flavor note coming out of this one. But it's this, the up front is very Taiwanese oolong-y, and then starting in the mid-mouth into the back end, and then in the aftertaste as well, formosensis. Green leaf litter, sort of that earthiness, that little bit of an edge. And you can tell it's good tea. As I breathe out, it's all those flavors. It's like that menthol-esque breathing out. And I think I told the story when I was here. I tried this tea right here, and I was like, "Give me all you got!" And the person there was helping the farmer, right? She was helping the farmer because the farmer they had something that happened, and so he couldn't be there. And I was like, just give me it all. And they said, "Well, no, because I need some." So they drink this tea as well, and this will be really nice. and very, very similar. Yeah, so much going on in the mouth. Really quite a fascinating tea. But this will be, well, this tea is not that cheap. It's kind of expensive. It's kind of an expensive tea. Um, so what I'll probably be doing is sort of selling pieces like this, and then I'll also sell the sort of the tea cakes. And but people get a chance to try this tea, and if they like it, then they can get a whole cake. Um, but it's quite a lot of fun, and it's unique. It's wildly unique. It's really quite a fascinating tea. And I think if I buy a bunch of it, I'll probably be able to get it a little cheaper because it's a little bit too expensive right now. It's not that bad, but I just like it to be a little bit less expensive. Because I don't deny it's worth the money. It's absolutely worth the money. But at the same time, I know that it's I like having teas affordable. I like having teas affordable. I know it's a weird thing too. Like I was talking to one of my friends there who sells teas for some of the teas that he sells for what's that? So let me just say 600. So yeah, $1 a gram and above for his teas that are Taiwanese teas and sort of fresher teas, and that's what he sells those teas for that price. He also travels around and he makes teas for other people as well. And he keeps getting on me that it's like you got to go and sell the really, really expensive teas. You got to be selling those teas that cost well over $1,000 a kilogram. Those are the teas that you should be selling. And well, I can absolutely understand where he's coming from and why that would be the case, and I probably should. I've got this deep mental block against it. But then again, it's like, okay, so I sell a tea, it's super expensive, it's $1 a gram, and so so it's $5 a serving, which is like half the price of a craft beer, and you make a lot more. You make a lot more of it than the craft beer, and so so I've got to get over that mental block. But that guy's absolutely right. Absolutely, absolutely. Which is more expensive, that or the old growth one? Right now, these are more expensive, but I'm probably going to be able to get them. I'm probably going to be able to work them down so that they're the same price. I'm probably going to make them, but the old growth one and that whole story with the old growth thing, I'm realizing more and more it was just, I don't know what it was. It was like a mirage, some strange thing that happened. It's so weird. That whole situation was just so weird. And anyways, whatever, doesn't matter. Again, here we go. Classic, right? Here is your Camellia formosensis tea leaf. And then you've got more styration on the edge than you would get. Oh, it's so hard to see. Anyways, whatever. Take my word for it. It's the Camellia formosensis leaf right there, and more styration on the edges. So it's definitely got some sinensis. It's definitely got some sinensis in there, which is fun. I find expensive tea to be quite cheap to enjoying good wine or craft beer. Absolutely 100%. Absolutely 100%. And you want to know why? I'll tell you the secret why. Looking forward to seeing you and trying some teas in 3 weeks. Yes. Is it only 3 weeks? I sort of live in this strange bubble of living in Hualien where the only thing that matters now is the seasons. But I guess the season's changing. Yes. So about 3 weeks. Yes. Well, these teas will be here, so you'll be able to try them out. And if you got a list of teas that you want to try out, just let me know as well. especially if the tea has strong cha chi. Yes, and that's the thing. So here's the secret about Western-facing companies and the really, really expensive tea. And I've heard some other people talk about the Western-facing companies talk about the extraordinarily expensive teas. And the reason that there is not that many, or that people like me work hard on finding the cheaper stuff, is because the market for expensive teas is, I would say, maybe 1/10,000th the size of the market for expensive wine, or the market for expensive alcohol in general, or cigars, or craft beer, or anything like that. It's about 1/10,000th the size, right? 1/10,000th the size. So for example, like a good cigar, people drop $100 on a good cigar, just like that. Boom. People do it all the time. The idea of dropping $100 on a tea session, like that's insane. I tried a $100 tea session tea the other day, actually, when I was in I'll do a post on it, and it was amazing. It was on par with some of the most expensive alcohol, or cigar, or other types of things. It was on par with that. It's amazing tea. And the first thing I said was, that's so overpriced, but that's the thing, that people, it's 1/10,000th the size. And so every once in a while I get access to these teas, these amazing, amazing teas. But who's going to buy it? Right. And then you got the chicken or the egg. Well, it's not offered in the Western world. So, who's going to buy it and all that type of stuff. Sometimes if you 5 grams to 1.2 liters or something like that, then alcohol is like $20 a bottle. Cigars are the most expensive, in my opinion. Yes. So all that stuff, right? And because, you say that cigars are the most expensive, well, that's because you're in Asia too, right? And so cigars in Asia, it's 1/1000th the market of cigars in a lot of other countries, sort of in the West. And so it's going to be really expensive to get a good cigar here, like cheese, like getting a good cheese in the foothills, in the foothills on the way out to Switzerland, like in Alsace or something like that in France. It's not that hard to get really good cheese, but out here it's like $1 a gram for really good French cheese. And so that's the that's the trade-off. And it's a good 1 or 2 hours of luxury, then it's gone. I personally don't want to share it because of post-pandemic reasons. Yes, well, there's the other thing, right? It's I wonder how that's affected cannabis culture. But I guess now it's legal in most places where a lot of people use it. So probably everybody can have their own. Anyways, that's a weird tangent, but it's yes, 3 weeks. Yes, 3 weeks. Wow. I still get emails. So again, my past used to be doing trips almost on a daily basis, and I haven't done it for 2 or 3 years. I've taken a break, and then now going into this fall season, I think I got about 10 or 12 days booked for trips. And so I'm starting to get a little bit nervous because I haven't done them for so many years. Now it's riding a bike, right? It's not hard, especially because the people that I've chosen to do trips with are really nice people, really good people. But I'm starting to get back into the frame of things, right? And so I've got to get back and do all of that and get into it and start the tours up again and all that sort of stuff. Anyways. But it's coming soon. I gotta get the tour guide cap dusted off. Maybe take it to the dry cleaners. But absolutely. Gotta go. I'll rewatch this later. Oh, I'm just about done. But good to see you, of course. So, anyways, that's the recap of this. Anybody else have any questions about this stuff before we call it a day, and I go to the post office and send off all of the tea. I'll tell you, the last week was, for understandable reasons, sales went down to zero, like this past week. Thankfully, people started buying tea again on the weekend, but it was like wow. But I'm sure I'm not the only one that had that happen. Um, but we're going into a fourth turning, so we'll see how it goes. Anyways, I gotta go. And thank you to everybody who has supported me and my family and bought some tea. To recap, 2 Camellia formosensis hybrid thingies that are quite a lot of fun and really beautiful. And yeah, I certainly hope wherever in the world you are, you have an amazing morning, evening, night, that you sleep well, and that you have an amazing coming week. And this is Monday for me, maybe Sunday night for some people. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next live stream.